All right. Let's see. I think we're live. And we are now on the page as well. There's Brian coming in. Let's see. I think you just have to unmute yourself. There we go.
Awesome.
And we are live
There.
on the Facebook. So
Awesome. The first time I couldn't see me or hear me, and I couldn't hear you. So I don't know what happened.
well, we are good. I think I just had to promote you to panelist, and
Oh,
really great to do another. It's crazy that we're on the second uh, authorpreneur that I am now able to be a part of, and
yeah.
awesome to be asked back. And something that you and I have always kind of talked about is the power of writing a book. And
Yeah.
I had self-published one book before coming in contact with you, and that second book that you helped me write, the LinkedIn book for network marketing, completely changed my business. And a lot of people don't understand, how it's possible for a book to do that. And
Yeah.
and I think I want to dive into that,
Yeah.
but also, the concept of authorpreneur live, because I was, I hopped on and I saw the interview you were doing with Chris earlier,
Hmm.
how so many people either start to write a book and never finish it,
Hmm.
or have ideas of wanting to write a book but just never act on it. So,
Yeah.
Brian, before we jump into all that, if you could, for my audience that is not familiar with you and your work, just give a little brief
Yeah.
introduction, and then we can take it from there.
Awesome. Well, I host a radio show called Success Profiles Radio. It's every Monday at 6 Eastern. So I'll be doing that show in about an hour from now. You've been on my show a couple times.
I have.
I'm interviewing national best-selling author Randy Gage this week. That'll be good. That'll be a really good show. We're going to talk about prosperity and taking risks and the value of taking a good risk. So that'll be good. I also publish a magazine called Success Profiles Magazine, which you've written for before. And I also host this event, Authorpreneur Live, and I do book writing and book coaching. And we've worked together, like you said, on your book, the network or the LinkedIn book for network marketing. In fact, I hold you up as an example of one of the best people I've ever had the pleasure of working with. And you
Thank
you
you.
are doing the work with the book. I mean, you had a really great speaking and consulting career before that, but I sense, and I don't take a lot of credit for this because you're doing the work, but having this book has changed and accentuated your brand to the point where you are now being seen and sought after, whereas that probably wasn't quite as true before. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
And it's because you're doing the work and you wrote the right book. See, this is the key. A lot of
Mm.
people want to write a book, but you have to write the right book. What book is going to propel your business forward? And I do work with entrepreneurs. And so that's the challenge, is what book do you want to write? A lot of people say, I want to write my story. Okay, writing your story is a fun idea, but so what? Apart from your 10 family and friend members who might buy your book, so what? And I say that with love and respect. What will compel someone else who doesn't know you to buy your book? So a lot of the books that I help people are hybrids between an autobiography slash memoir and teaching and instructing and motivating and inspiring and educating people to take action in the direction of whatever that author is inspired and motivated by. And those, I think, are the books that do really well. I mean, you take a look at Jack Canfield's The Success Principles. If that would have been just a straight autobiography, it wouldn't have been nearly as exciting as the fact that he had principles that guided his success, and he used personal examples of things that he said or did, or examples of people he's encountered and the things they've said or done. And stories sell. The story isn't the point. The story benefits the point that you're trying to make. And I teach people that all the time when I was doing public speaking and teaching public speaking in college. Is like, the story isn't the thing. It's the point that you're making, and the story supplements the point that you're making. And so writing a book is very much the same way. And I help people figure out what that message is and what the chapters are going to be. And we talk about the stories and where they fit. Now, your book was a very different deal because we were repurposing a course, and so it was there. I just needed to figure out, the framework, and we talked through that a lot, and we came up with something that I know you're happy with, and so am I. I am so proud of that book.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. And it's funny when, we had a framework to go by, but when
Yeah.
people hear that, just to let you guys know, Brian and I started working on that book um, May of 2018, and it didn't actually release until March of 2019. So it was, even though we had the framework, um, so we extracted some key points from a course,
Mm-hmm.
um, not obviously everything, but
Right.
bullet points to be able to construct a book. But even that whole aspect, because I gave Brian some transcriptions of interviews that I did because I wanted to make it a very interactive book. And I was grateful enough to have the book picked up by Audible. And when it went on to Audible and you can listen to the conversation flowing from the book, it just really heightens the principles, but also the depth of the content in this book. And when I contacted Brian, I didn't want this to be a book that was just a fluffy book that went over a couple different things. At the end of every chapter was a key takeaway section to make sure that people actually remembered what they read. But even though we had the framework for a full book, it still
Mm-hmm.
took us 10 months to put together.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to something that you said very early on, without this book, I can absolutely attest that my career would not be where it is if I didn't have your help in writing this book, because there's three main things that I always tell people they should have if you want to lock all doors and windows for a business. Number one, obviously, is a website. You need to direct people to what you do, how you do it, and how they can work with you. The second thing is a book where, and again, to your point, not just writing an inspirational book or a motivational book. What is, and I say this to people all the time, what is so different
Mm-hmm.
about the book that you want to write? How is it different from XYZ books? Because when I did my research on LinkedIn books, especially for ones for network marketing, guess what? There were none. I was literally writing the book on the
Mm-hmm.
topic. And the third thing, which obviously you've had for a number of years, is a podcast, because
Yeah.
that's where you can actually promote what you do. I can't tell you how many people have bought my book through me just talking about it on my podcast.
Nice.
But outside of a website and a podcast, and no matter what you guys are thinking as you're hearing this, every single person has a book inside of them. You sometimes just need someone like Brian to bring it out. So let's talk about how you got into what you're doing now, helping people write books.
Yeah.
When did you realize that there was something there? And again, to that point, what makes what Brian does so different that other people can try to write it on their own or find someone else?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, my interest in writing goes all the way back to when I was a kid. When I was in grade school in study hall, if my homework was done, I would write stories based on TV shows that I enjoyed watching at the time. I don't know if you remember the TV show Lost in Space. I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that show was on in the 60s, but I saw it in syndication. It was one of those come home from school and watch it on TV kinds of shows with the robot and Dr. Smith and that whole thing. I loved that show. And so I would write Lost in Space episodes. If I was really fidgety in church, mom would hand me a notebook and I would write underdog stories from the Underdog cartoon. So I was always writing. And in high school, I tried writing a time travel novel. And back in the day, if you were watching TV shows or movies, everything always had a bow, happy, it was all wrapped up in a bow and a happy ending at the end. I couldn't resolve the story I was writing, so I just gave up on it. And then in college, I took a creative writing course, writing short stories. And one of my favorite stories that I wrote for this class was about the possibility that maybe somebody had stowed away a Noah's Ark. I thought, what would that look like? Because no one has, not to my knowledge, no one has ever hypothesized the possibility. I liked the story, but I found out after the fact that my professor was an atheist. So that didn't go over well. And the story was too big. I mean, I got to page 15 or 20 and I had to wrap it up. And the critique I was getting most often in that class was, you're ending your story really abruptly. Well, it's because my idea is way too big. And I realized at that time that maybe fiction is not the sandbox I want to play in. Fiction is the sandbox I want to play in. And then I got interested in personal development in the 90s when I was in graduate school. One of my students was in Amway, of course, multi-level marketing organization. And he really wanted to enroll me. And I said, Mike, I'm not going to enroll, but I will buy this book, which was The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. I said, I will be a customer. I will buy your book from you. Okay. He was happy with a $10, $15 sale. And that was my leisure reading when I wasn't reading my coursework. And that book just opened my mind to a lot of possibilities. And so my personal development journey started there. Fast forward a few years, I started my radio show in January 2012. Episode 400 is happening about a month from now.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is. And it's spun into a published magazine. It's spun into ghostwriting and helping people. I taught public speaking, English composition, and business math at a 2-year business college when I lived in Nebraska back in the early 2000s. I did that for about 4 years. Or no, it was in the early 90s, excuse me. And so I had experience teaching the subject. And by 2009, I had my first book, was a student leadership book. And I thought, why can't I help people write their book? I taught the class. I saw the struggles that people were having getting started, and in particular, picking their topic. For me, that was always the hardest part, was picking my topic. Well, I purposely work with entrepreneurs who have a pretty good idea what their message is and what their mission in life and in their business is. And so their message is usually centered around that. And the book is usually something to advance their business somehow, which made it very easy to work with you because you had your niche already established. You knew. And those are the people I want to work with. I've tried working with people who didn't have businesses. There was one person in particular who I had 4 phone calls with, and she still had no real idea what she wanted her book to be. And then she sent me an email one day and says, how come we haven't started yet? Because you still don't know what you want to do. That was hard. I finally let her opt out. I didn't want to work with her. And that's fine. She probably did her own thing. But what makes me special is that I care, I listen, and we put a draft together. I let you see it. We can always add, subtract, change, whatever you want. If some new stuff has happened to you that you now want to include, we work it in. And it's not done until you're happy. I mean, I want my people to be happy when they're done, just like you are. So that's the thing. And so it can take as long or short of a time as it takes. I mean, I've had some books complete faster than yours. I've had some books that I've been working on a little longer than yours has. But part of that is because the client never gets around to reading their draft and getting back to me because they are busy entrepreneurs.
Yep.
So, I mean, when someone asks me, well, how long does it take? Well, it really depends on a lot of stuff. It depends on how soon we can get our sessions recorded. It depends on whether you are able to keep your appointments with me or not. It depends on how quickly you can review your first draft when it's done. I mean, I can't predict that. So it's all good. And I love it when the books that we've worked on together have made such a huge difference in that person's business like it has with yours. And this event, Authorpreneur Live, is designed to bring people into the universe that I live in and help them see the possibilities of writing, marketing, and leveraging the book to create great experiences in their business. And this is one of the reasons why I love inviting you on, is because A, you are one of my clients. B, you are an expert in your field. You're freaking phenomenal at what you do.
Thank you.
And people get tons of value. I had several people tell me you were their favorite speaker last time.
That's awesome. Well, I'm happy to be back. And, here's the crazy thing. What people don't realize is that when you write a good book, and again, my book was just about 80 pages. It wasn't, it takes about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to go through it. And, Brian and I, we talked through this. I said, listen, I want this to be a comprehensive book. I didn't want it to be fluff. I wanted it to be juicy, but something that someone could pick up, and they have a flight somewhere. They can bring the book with them and they can read the entire thing by the time the wheels touch the ground.
Yeah.
And to this day, this book still sells an average of 2 to 3 copies every single day.
Beautiful.
And it'll be February, it'll be 2 years since this book has come out. I've since released a follow-up workbook that's updated that goes along with this, but
Mhm.
all of that wouldn't have been possible. Like, there would have been no follow-up book.
Yeah.
And and just like you said, all of the things I had to do the work.
Mhm.
Ryan can help you write the book. But what are you going to do with it once it's written? And that's the thing. When you write a book, you need to make sure that it's being seen. Having
Yes.
people, comment that they've bought it or take pictures with the book, always speaking about it. And that's the big thing that people really do miss. There are so many books that have been written that are sitting on the virtual bookshelves on Amazon and other places collecting dust because you're not drawing people to the book. And it's all about search engine optimization. So when you think
Right.
about the title of my book, right? The LinkedIn book for network marketing, that's what people they're looking for that. So let's talk about Entrepreneur Live, because
Yeah.
you know what I love about the event, and it was an easy yes last year, is you have so many different people from so many different backgrounds. Obviously, people know I'm going to be talking about LinkedIn and how you can build your business, but you have podcast experts, you have authoritative figures in copywriting,
Yeah.
in websites, in speaking, all different facets of entrepreneurship that relate to being that authoritative figure.
Yeah.
So tell the audience, number one, what makes the Authorpreneur Live event so special, because it's this Wednesday and
Yeah.
Thursday,
Right.
and more importantly, how can they find out more about it and how to obviously be a part of it.
Right. So the mission of the event is to help people to write, market, and leverage their book to create greater advantages for themselves in business, which means that the speakers have to come from a variety of areas of expertise. You, LinkedIn, finding your perfect client on LinkedIn. I have someone scheduled to appear who's going to talk about how to get sponsors for whatever you do, whether you want to get your book tour sponsored, whether you want to get a podcast tour sponsored, whatever it is that you want to get sponsored in your business, even if you're just getting started. I have someone who's going to be speaking about how to get on stages, live, in person, and virtual stages, because when you're on stage, you have a chance to talk to 100, 200, 500, 1,000 people at a time, whatever the case is, to impact people with that message of yours and to bring people into your world. I have someone who's going to talk about how to write your book the right way so that you can sell everything else that you want to do. I have a couple of people, there are a couple who I'm working with, who are working with me more accurately, and I am in their media mastermind, and they are going to talk about how you can get on TV. That's pretty cool, because when you can get on local or national TV, it brings a whole new audience. Because of a contact that I learned or that I got from their sessions, I was able to get on the nationally syndicated show, The List, and that episode aired last Wednesday. So I was on national TV last week.
Amazing.
41 markets, 40% of the country. And I talked about 3 tips on how to get started writing your book. It's pretty cool. Now I have a 2.5 minute clip that I can share with people who are thinking about working with me or who have a call scheduled but haven't had it yet. And I'll say, before the call, watch this. Mm-hmm. And if they balk, I'll say, how many other writers are you talking to that have been on national television talking about what they do? The answer will probably be 0. So I'm in. So this is going to be like massively huge. Being on TV can be a huge leverage point for you. I've got someone else who's going to talk about how he created a best-selling cookbook that made 1.5 million sales. He started as a self-published author, sold so many copies that he got attention of some publishers. I think Simon & Schuster was the one who picked him up. He got on the Wendy Williams show. He got in some major media. And his hook, which I will not reveal, you have to come to the event, was what got people to seek him out. It's one thing where you're chasing media, but it's another thing where media is seeking you out, saying, we have to have you on our show. That's a different experience. And he will talk about how he did that. I've got someone who's going to talk about how to crowdsource your book. We've all heard of Kickstarter and GoFundMe. This is one that's specifically for authors. And you can use this to pre-sell your book and get attention from publishers, because there are publishers that are hooked up with this. And if you sell, let's just say 500 copies or more before your book is out, that's going to attract some attention from some publishers. And so you can get a publishing deal by being on a crowdfunding site. How cool is that?
Amazing.
Tyler Wagner, who you and I both know very well, he helped you.
Tyler.
Yeah, he helped me get this book to #1. He's going to be speaking on the second day. about how to create a best-selling bookseller launch. Yeah, Tyler is awesome and amazing. Love him to death. He's great. And then the last speaker at the end of the second day is going to be somebody who's going to talk about protecting your intellectual property. What a crime it would be to create something only to find out that someone else already has the patent, copyright, trademark, or registration to it. He's going to talk about the importance of protecting your IP and how you can do it. So all of these are topics that are necessary for an author. It's not just writing your book and putting it on Amazon. That's a nice start, but what are you going to do with it when it's done? And how else are you going to leverage this? And how can you protect yourself? And how can you protect your ideas? This is why you have to be really, really careful about who you share your ideas with, because you don't know who's thinking, oh, that's a great idea. I'm going to trademark that before you do. Yeah. So that's who's speaking. It's going to be a great roster. It's going to be a tremendous event. And you can go register. Actually, you have a special link that I gave you so that you can we can know that you came to us through Scott, and you can go ahead and share that with your audience in the comments. But it's authorpreneurlive.com/Scott-Aaron. So please register using that link so that we know that you came to us through Scott. And you can register for free. There's two options, actually. When you go onto the site, you'll scroll down and you'll see who all the speakers are and what they're talking about and what time. And the times that you see on the agenda, those are all Eastern. I don't know if that's been added yet or not. One of my friends in Arizona said, I can only stay until 5 o'clock on Thursday. And I'm thinking it's going to be over by then, because 5 Arizona is 8 o'clock Eastern, and we're going to be done. So the first day on Wednesday, the kickoff session is at 11:30 Eastern. And then Scott is speaking at noon. You are leading off. You are the leadoff batter. And that's going to be amazing, amazing. And it goes until 6 o'clock Eastern that first day. And then the second day goes from noon to 6. And so every speaker has an hour by which they will present and answer a few questions. And then there'll be a short break in case you need to get up and do whatever you're going to do and then come back. So it's going to be a quick 6 hours, 2 days in a row. We've done it where we gave everyone an hour and a half and the day just got really long.
Yeah.
And I certainly don't want to do this more than 2 days. I've seen summits that, are like 3 speakers a day for 10 days. I'm like, after day 2, I'm done.
So it's a lot. It is.
And so I'm always about respecting people's time. So I want to give as much value that I can in the shortest amount of time, and to make sure that you have what you have. Now, I did tell you there were 2 options. Number 1, you can register for free and attend the sessions live while they're going on. Not everyone can attend all the sessions. And so there is an option to purchase the replays. It's a small investment of $97. However, for Scott's audience, for you guys, until tomorrow, until the end of Tuesday, the day before the event, which is Wednesday, there's a coupon code APL50 as an Authorpreneur Live, APL50. And when you go onto the site, you'll see a banner that says this. You get $50 off. So today and tomorrow, you can get the recordings for $47 instead of $97. And you can't even go to an event. You can't even go to an event for less than $100.
Yep. It's one of those things where sometimes, the value is when people actually attend. But you have to understand that when you have the ability to go back and watch, when you have the ability to go back and watch what you actually learned, yes, and what you want to learn,
yes,
it's, you have that information like forever. And what I can tell you is it's one of those things where you really have to understand where sometimes the value is in the information after, because you're going to get a lot of great information while you're watching all these presentations. But, it is so important to make sure that you guys not only attend Wednesday and Thursday, but the value that Brian is giving, not only with the people that he's having come speak and the knowledge that you're going to get from this, but the fact that you can get a copy of both of those days to go back and rewatch over and over and over again. So you want to talk about the value ladder? There's so much value. He's basically giving this away. And what Brian's going to do is he's going to put the coupon code, but also the links in the comment section, as I will as well, so you guys can sign up. Brian, any last thoughts, last minute messages for anyone that's never attended either of the first two?
Yeah.
And, for those that maybe have attended in the past, what's going to be different this year?
Yeah. And this is so cool because when you go to an in-person event, you're sitting in the audience, the speaker is speaking, and the vast majority of the time, you can't just raise your hand and ask a question, right? This being a virtual event, it's going to be on Zoom. And so when you register, you're going to get a confirmation and you can chat your questions while the presentation's going on. And Scott, you got to experience this last year. And I tell people, if your question is relevant to the current topic, I will try to weave it in. If it's not, we'll wait. And there'll be a Q&A session at the end if I didn't get to your questions. So you have a chance to ask your questions in real time during the presentation or at the end of the presentation, which is really great because it respects people's willingness to pay attention. And since it is Zoom chat, if you are connecting with people inside the room, you can certainly do that. So the community is amazing. And I find that these sessions are always really interactive, and people have usually commented about how interactive the presentations actually end up getting, because some people just have lots of questions and they like the opportunity to be able to interact with the speakers, because some speakers are just really inaccessible. Even afterwards, they leave right away. But some of our speakers attend every single session, which is cool. Now, some can, some can't, and that's cool. There's no judgment. Come to whatever you can. This is another reason why we have the replays, because if you can't come to all the sessions and there's a speaker you really, really want to see, but you're working or you have a client call or something else going on, get the replays. $47. You can't even shake a stick at that. APL 50. So when you click the $97 option and enter your payment information, there's a space for a coupon code, APL 50. Just put that in. It'll automatically reduce down to 47, but that's only until the end of tomorrow. On the day of the event, it will be 97, and
Amazing.
It's programmed that way. So we can't really grant you a special exception.
Well, I just put my affiliate link through Thrivecart in the comment section, so
Good.
People can obviously go and you can check that out. Again, it's a great way. And for those that are on my email list, I'm going to send an email out to you guys so you guys can register that way as well. I don't want you to come to see me. You guys have seen me. The value in all the other speakers that Brian mentioned. These are givers. These are people that are actually going to give you the tangibles. They're going to tell you what to do. You guys have seen all my trainings. I give you actionable things. And that is who Brian attracts, people that give the value of what people need to do to move their needle forward. So, Brian, just so grateful for you, everything that you've been able to do for me and my brand and my business and my authoritative figure in this space, but also the opportunity to speak for a second year. Really looking forward to it, and can't wait to see you and Lonnie and everybody else this coming Wednesday, but also looking forward to seeing so many other people on there. And you guys definitely should sign up, check it out. And Brian, thank you so much again.
You're so welcome, Scott. Great to have you back. Great to talk to you and your audience. And please sign up. I'd love to see all of you there. It would be really fantastic, and you'll get a lot out of it.
Absolutely. So guys, have a great rest of your night. Brian, thanks again for being here.
You're
and
welcome.
See everybody on Wednesday. 12 noon is when I am going on, but feel free. It's 12 to 6 both days. Stay for all the speakers. Definitely get the replay of this. If you have to bounce off, you got to do something else. That's why getting that replay is so important, because you can always go back to what you missed, or even go back and watch what you did see, that maybe some things that you forgot.
Oh, absolutely. It's like watching your favorite movie. You see it the second, third, and fourth time, and you think, I don't remember this the first time through. So it's great. And in fact, when I went to James Malinchak's event for the first time, he said, come back next year, the next year, the next year. Why? Because you'll be at a different space in your journey. And I received some of that information the first time around. The rest of it seemed a little over my head. But when I went back the second and third time, I was at a different space in my business entirely. And now I had the systems in place to implement some of the things he was talking about. So you just keep learning. And even if you hear it the same way again, or hear the same information again, it strikes something new. So this is why the replays are valuable. You're at a different space in your book writing journey. You're in a different space in your business journey. And now you're ready to receive how to be on television. Now you're ready to receive how to create a book funnel to help sell your book. Now you're ready to talk about how to protect your idea now that you have it firmly entrenched in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so get the replays, register for the event, come to the event. We'd love it if you got the replays too, because you'll just benefit from it even more than we will.
absolutely. And Brian, thank you again. Looking forward to seeing you Wednesday, and
Yep.
looking forward to seeing all you guys on there as well. So have a great day. And Brian and I will see you on Wednesday.
All right.
Bye,
Thanks.
everybody.
Bye.